Hello, Motor Ride World fans, and welcome to Paddock Talk, talking MotoGP Aragon Sunday race day. And what an incredible race day it was in all the categories. Moto 3 was sublime. Ivan Guevara stamping his authority there, but action-packed to plenty as always in Moto 3. Really enjoying this year's Moto 3 championship. Moto 2 was also really exciting. Pedro Acosta stamping his authority there. So the Spaniards really stamping their authority in the smaller classes at their home track in Spain, but in MotoGP it was all about the Italians. But one big note is that the racing on track has been fabulous this year. Dorna getting it right on track. There's no doubt about that. There's just a couple of little problems off track that need to be sorted out to get this MotoGP really thriving once again. And we'll go into depth about that in Talking MotoGP Tuesday night, so tomorrow night, live on the Motor Rider World page from 8 o'clock. So join in there because we've got lots to talk about. But just to highlight what was an action-packed Sunday in a very warm Aragon. It was all about, again, the Italians. Ducati wrapping up the manufacturer's title. How did that happen? I mean, with 8 motorcycles, 9 most of the time as well. There's no surprise. Ducati wrapped up the constructors' title with 5 rounds still to go. So well done to Ducati. But that's what happens when you throw a mob at something. If they didn't win it, there would have been something seriously wrong. But it was always going to really be between Pecco Bagnaia and Enea Bastianini. I said in my Saturday debrief that Pecco, certainly that blisteringly fast lap that he set for pole position was crazy, and he looked so good. He looked comfortable out on track. But Enea Bastianini just had something extra for me, and that was an immense battle once again from the two Italians. But from the start, I mean, how was that start of the race? I couldn't believe. I had to kind of blink 100 times to try and believe what I was seeing. First of all, with Brad Binder's sublime start from 10th on the grid into turn 1, going around the outside of everyone up into 4th place. Then Marc Marquez he lost the rear, and I don't know if he lost the rear because of just a cold tyre or getting on the gas too soon, or if there was already a problem with that ride height device because he just lost all that momentum. Fabio had nowhere to go, just rode straight into the back of Marc Marquez, and it was a big crash for Fabio Quartararo. Glad to see that he's only walked away with a couple of burn marks all over his chest and that, but that was a really big moment for Fabio Quartararo. It could have been worse because they're heading straight off to Motegi, Japan, and had he missed that, the championship picture would have looked even more doom and gloom for Fabio. And that Marc Marquez's return, you always know there's going to be something that's going to kick off with Marc Marquez's return. It's always going to be a big kind of headline news story. And it was either going to be that Marc returns with a podium or top 5, brilliant stuff, or in this case, kind of getting involved in this championship fight that he's not involved in. Obviously not on purpose, but certainly has swung the championship back now in the favour of Ducati, because a couple of races ago, Pecco was written off. He was 70, 80, whatever points it was behind, and that's a 10-point shift. Pecco Bagnaia is only 10 points behind Fabio Quartararo in this championship now, so it's all to play for. And I do feel sorry for Fabio Quartararo because it was taken out of his hands. It was always going to be a tough track, the Aragon circuit. Never finished on the podium there before. The Yamaha's lack of power really does show itself at the Aragon track, but wasn't even given a chance to really fight for it. It was taken out really early. And then, of course, what happened after that? Bits and pieces of Fabio's Yamaha got stuck in Marc Marquez's rear wheel, and he came out of the right-hander and collided with Taka Nakagami. Now, we're going to talk in depth about this in our Talking MotoGP on Tuesday night, because there's so much to analyze there. There's so many different ways you can look at it. There really is so many ways that we can look into it. Personally, I think, yes, Marc was hampered by the problem with the ride height device and pieces of fairing stuck in his rear wheel, but I think he could have done more to kind of avoid that accident with Nakagami. It kind of looks like he took 2 bites out of Nakagami there for me. But yeah, we'll get into that. We can talk about this for hours, and it's going to be an in-depth discussion. There's no doubt about it. But certainly Marc Marquez showing that he is back, and MotoGP is certainly more exciting when Marc Marquez is back in it. So not the return that he wanted, of course, but he heads now to Motegi, the home of Honda in Japan, and let's see what he can do there. Alex Rins is of course Pecco and Enea. Enea would take rider of the day all day long, as well as Pecco Bagnaia and Brad Binder in fourth and Aleix Espargaro in third. But Alex Rins really impressed me, because if you spot that early incident with Fabio Quartararo, you'll see Alex Rins gets held up big time, and then he gets held up again by the Nakagami incident. So he's almost stone last at one stage, Alex Rins, and he fights his way back through to finish ninth. And in this crop of MotoGP, that is a sensational ride from the Suzuki rider. So it's a pity that happened, because he really would have had something for that top five, potentially in that battle with Miller, Espargaro and Brad for that final podium position. So just a mention there to Alex Rins, who I think did a fantastic job. Brad, yeah, it's set up from the brilliant start, and his game plan was to always go around the outside. Trevor Binder was telling me they spoke about it, and he said, I'm going around the outside, lining it up for turn 2, which is the right-hander. And I was with Brad in his race truck. It was about 45 minutes before the start of the race. We watched a bit of the Moto2 and that together, and had his ankle up high, trying to get the blood away from it, a little bit swollen, still very sore. I'm kind of thinking, oh, geez, how's this guy going to go wrestle a KTM MotoGP bike around this tough Aragon track in this heat for 20-something odd laps? It really was tough conditions out there for them. Darren, in the practice sessions, was coming in saying his feet are like so sore, and it literally is because his boots were so hot from being on those pegs. From the bottom of the boot, they were overheating. It really was tough conditions for all the riders out there. But these guys just prove what superstars they are. And Brad Binder raced through the pain, got the start that he wanted, was up into second place, got passed by Anea, but kept those leading two honest, kept Pecco and Anea honest for so long. And then eventually it was between him, Aleix Espargaro and Jack for the fight for the podium. Jack didn't quite have enough left in those final couple of laps, and 2 laps to go. Aleix shoved it on the inside of Brad, had no answer, and just couldn't fight for that podium, but a fantastic 4th place finish nevertheless. Came into pits, was very proud and honoured to be celebrating with Brad and his KTM team. And Brad looked happy, but you could see was like, this is good, and I'm glad we're celebrating 4th, but I want to be celebrating podiums. I want to be celebrating wins. And even speaking to him afterwards, he was like, yeah, it was a good result, but... And yeah, it's a good thing to hear that, because... yeah, the guy shouldn't be happy. You should be happy with 4th, no doubt, because of the struggles of KTM and what he's doing on the KTM machine. But this is a guy that wants to win races and wants to win championships. And Aleix Espargaro came out. Brilliant words from Aleix Espargaro. It's not the first time he's praised Brad, saying, Brad was able to go with Anea, he couldn't, and to do what he's doing on the KTM. And Brad's one of the top riders in MotoGP, and a lot of the riders share those same thoughts about Brad. So another fantastic weekend for our very own Brad Binder. Another fantastic ride from him, up into 4th place. Feeling a little bit better. They found something a little in Mazzano with the KTM, found something a little here again. Had that unfortunate crash in FP3, but still put on a fantastic show. So well done, Brad Binder. Well done to the KTM team as well. Certainly Miguel, slightly better weekend for him as well, but nowhere near Brad once again. So it just shows you the job that Brad's doing on that KTM. Aleix Espargaro, speaking about him, very impressed with him once again. It's been a tough last couple of races, since Silverstone really, where he had that crash. Hasn't really looked like the Aleix that started the season and kind of, faded ever so slightly in the championship. He's lucky that, the likes of Fabio haven't really been taking full advantage of the last couple of races to pull away. So he's kept himself in that championship hunt, and it was a tough weekend for him in Aragon. 2 big crashes before qualifying, managed to somehow pull out a brilliant qualifying lap. And then, he dug deep. He's a fighter, Aleix, as is all of the riders on the grid, and he snuck it on the inside of our Brad Binder. Felt like throwing a rock at him in turn 1, because I was standing right there. I felt like picking up the biggest rock closest to me and just chucking it at Aleix so that Brad could get back past. But yeah, well done, Aleix Espargaro, fighting spirit there, and to get on the podium after that weekend says a lot about the man. So keeps himself in the championship hunt, and yeah, brilliant job there from him. Let's get to the 2 Ducati boys. Enea Bastianini, he's called the Beast, and push like a bastard is kind of his tagline now. And you couldn't phrase it better with that man. He is an absolute animal. He is a beast on that Ducati. He was following Pecco, past him, and then you kind of thought, okay, well, here we go, he's going to pull out. Then he made that mistake down in turn 13, down the hill there, ran wide. Pecco came back past, pulled about a second, and you kind of thought, well, no one just reels in a Pecco Bagnaia that just makes no mistakes. It's kind of game over. And yeah, well done, but game over. 1 or 2 other mistakes came after. It looked like he was having braking issues. But the Beast just pushed like a bastard, and he hunted Pecco Bagnaia down, who made not one mistake. He did not make one mistake, but Anaya still hunted him down. Put a very, very clean move on Pecco on the inside on that right-hander. And it's such a risky move in there because you trail brake for so long, and it doesn't quite show on TV, but it's a little bit of an incline and a crest, so you really do load that front. But he made it stick, and all those onboards you went with Anaya on the brakes on the front end of that Ducati. He's just so confident, and he was just making up so much time. And once he got past Pecco, Pecco just had no answer, and they came across the line, nothing separating them, but it is Anaya Bastianini that took the win ahead of Pecco Bagnaia. That now leaves Pecco with a 10-point shift behind Fabio. And internally, after the race, big hats off to both riders celebrating. Big hats off to Pecco Bagnaia, who came into Parc Ferme. No long face, no sulking. High-fived pretty much the whole team from Cressini Ducati. High-fived Pecco and Anaya Bastianini, knowing that he was in a good fight and the better rider won on the day. But Ducati seemed to be creating this internal problems. They did it at Misano, where Anaya, why didn't you go after Pecco and you could have won, and or we didn't like this and we don't like this. And Anaya got a bit of flack for not going for the win in Misano, certainly from his team and some pundits that believed that he kind of did let Pecco win. Ducati kind of saying, oh, we don't like it when the two riders fight like that, we're going for a championship. Then comes to Aragon, and Anaya goes, well, if I can win, I'm going to go win. And he goes and wins. And Ducati come and make a huge spiel out of it. Rumours in the paddock that Tardozzi came flying into the Cressini Ducati pits, not a very happy man because they've taken points off Pecco. And at the end of the year, I think it'll really kick off if Pecco loses this championship by 5 points or whatever it is. Come the end of the year, they'll point back at Anaya Bastianini at Aragon and say, you see, it was that result that cost us the championship. Listen, with the momentum that Ducati and Pecco Bagnaia have, to lose this championship now is really in their own hands. Yes, I know Fabio is still 10 points ahead, but Motegi, I think, is a track that Fabio can do well on the Yamaha. I think it's a track that lends itself. There's not really much horsepower involved in terms of long straights and stuff, so can do well there, but certainly Sepang is going to be a tough one. The Ducatis, we know how fast they are there. Phillip Island, another track that the Yamaha could do well. So anyway, the main factor here is it's all still to play for there. But Ducati, I think they are so desperate for that world title that they are just, they are stressing about every single little thing that happens, and they're looking around them going, they just want this to be over now. And yeah, but they are creating problems where they aren't. Let the boys go and race and let them decide the championships themselves without getting too involved. Yes, if it comes down to Valencia and Anaya, if Anaya beats Pecco, it's championship over. Of course, Anaya will play the game and let Pecco win. But let it just play out. Don't go throwing toys out the cot in the pits and creating this drama with the press, with their riders and that. Just let the boys go ride. Ducati's biggest problem for next year is how they're going to manage Anaya and Pecco in the same team. Up till now, they had, a Dovi, the Foss man, and a Petrucci that, cool, I'm happy to be in the factory team, but I'll sit here as a good teammate. You had Pecco and you had Jack, who, cool, I'm happy to be in the factory team, I'll happily sit here as a teammate. Now you're going to have Anaya going, well, I'm not happy to, just while you guys stare at Pecco with big blue eyes and hearts in your eyes, and I must just sit and be the quiet teammate. You've got this is the strongest lineup Ducati have ever had in my mind, and you've got two potential championship contenders. How they're going to manage that is a big question. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But I think there's something there. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be entertaining to see that partnership and how Ducati manage that, because we certainly know Ducati in the past, when it comes to management, don't make the right decisions. So anyway, that is pretty much what happened from the tour, from the paddock. Darren Binder, to me, had a fantastic ride. Also got caught up with a Nakagami incident, but with a tough weekend that he had leading up to the race. 2 crashes, going from swing arm to swing arm. No real base setup to go into Sunday's race. Went into Sunday's race with pretty much a setup and a bike that he hadn't really spent a lot of time on. And he did a fantastic job. There was, good start, got caught up, but then was good lap times. Had a drop, and we know in Mazzardo that once he dropped, it was a big drop off, but managed it a lot better this time round. Hunted down Ralph Fernandez, got ahead of him. Hunted down DJ Antonio on that, really good and competitive Cressini Ducati. Hunted him down and got ahead of him, and kind of just missed out on beating Franco Morbidelli. A couple more laps than Darren would have had Franco. So another mature ride from Darren in my mind. Another learning ride. A lot of positives to take for Darren heading into what is going to be a tricky now. I mean, the guys go. The away races, the Motegi, the Thailand, the Sepang, the Phillip Island, it is a tough period for the teams and riders. So the best of luck to all of the teams and riders on this epic journey that they're about to embark on for the next 6 weeks. And yeah, make sure you tune in to Talking MotoGP live Tuesday night, Motor Rider World Facebook page from 8 o'clock, and we'll really dive into what was an action-packed weekend in Aragon, from the Max BAG Husqvarna Moto3 team, and the stupidity of their incident in the pits, to the brilliant racing in Moto3, Moto2, and of course MotoGP. So until then, I'll see you guys later.